Leslie had lived far too long with the belief that she could always stay one step ahead of everyone else. Her mistakes, her sins, the invisible bloodstains she had left behind had long been hidden beneath cold cunning and a frightening ability to twist the truth so completely that others began to doubt their own memories. But this time, that sense of control was beginning to crack. The new shifts rising around her were no longer harmless rumors or fleeting looks of suspicion, but a chain of quiet yet dangerous movements, as if every secret once buried deep was slowly clawing its way back to the surface. More than anyone, Leslie understood that when the past begins to breathe again, the most terrifying thing is not being judged, but losing the power to control the story. And when a woman who has lived by manipulation feels her power slipping away, the cruelty inside her becomes more vicious than ever. Eva was the first to truly feel that disturbance. She had never fully escaped Leslie's shadow, even though part of her had long wanted to break free. The bond between them was not just blood, but a warped tether knotted together by emotional debt, guilt, and wounds disguised as protection. Eva began to realize that Leslie no longer wanted only to control her, but was now looking at her as the weak link that could destroy everything. That realization turned Eva's fear into something far more concrete. It became the sensation of being hunted, watched, and forced into silence even as her heart felt more suffocated by the day. She understood that the closer she came to the truth, the more dangerous she became in Leslie's eyes. And to Leslie, danger had always been something that needed to be silenced before it could speak. While Eva remained trapped between fear and despair, Isaiah emerged as what seemed like one of the few sources of stability in the middle of the chaos. On the surface, he still carried himself as a calm, approachable man, perceptive enough to make Eva believe that she had finally found someone to lean on. But beneath that calm exterior was another layer of secrecy that no one expected. Isaiah had not entered Eva's life simply because of emotion. He had been watching Leslie for a long time, long enough to understand that this woman was not only the source of isolated tragedies, but the center of a web of lies that had stretched across years. Every step he took closer to Eva was a difficult choice, because the closer he got to her, the more fragile the line between duty and feeling became. He began to realize that he no longer saw Eva merely as a bridge leading him to Leslie. That truth tore at him, because if everything came to light, the one who might be hurt most deeply would not be Leslie, but Eva. Elsewhere, Laura could no longer accept letting the accident from years ago remain buried like a closed, dark chapter. Fragments of memory, details once dismissed as coincidence, and strange silences in old accounts began to connect on their own, forming a red thread that led straight back to Leslie. Laura was not digging up the past simply to seek justice. She was doing it because too many years had passed, and the pain had never truly faded. Because she understood that prolonged silence had fed something far worse. And because she could no longer bear watching people like Leslie continue living as though they were innocent. The closer Laura came to the truth, the more she realized she was touching a sickness that had rooted itself deep in many lives. That realization filled her with both fury and sorrow, because every new piece of evidence did not just confirm that the old accident had been distorted, but also revealed how much betrayal had been built upon the suffering of others. Laura's tightening grip pushed Leslie into the most dangerous kind of panic. She did not show fear through tears or retreat, but through reactions that grew more aggressive and reckless. She began trying to sever every lead, pressure Eva, manipulate anyone who could still be influenced, and shift all responsibility onto another direction before the walls fully closed in. In Leslie's mind, this was no longer a fight to preserve appearances, but a war for survival. She believed she could not afford to fall, because if she did, everything she had spent years carefully building would collapse with her. That twisted belief made her even more ruthless toward Evo. The woman she had once kept close as an extension of herself had now become a mirror reflecting every mistake Leslie wanted to shatter. The true tragedy exploded when Eva accidentally stumbled onto a link large enough to make her understand that everything was worse than she had imagined. The sense of betrayal came at her from all sides at once, leaving her on the verge of collapse. She discovered that Leslie had not only hidden the truth about the past, but had also been willing to sacrifice her to save herself. But the crueler shock came from Isaiah, when the gentle image he had clung to was ripped apart to reveal that he had entered her life under another identity. Even if his actions came from duty and from a genuine desire to stop Leslie from causing more harm, the truth still struck Eva like an icy blade. She lost the two things that mattered most to her at the same time: her last illusion of family and her final trust in a man she believed would never hurt her. That moment transformed Eva from someone who simply wanted to survive into someone pushed to the edge of her emotional limits, where pain could easily harden into extreme reactions. Leslie's arrest did not unfold like a victory, but like an explosion left ashes on everyone involved. When Isaiah was forced to reveal who he really was and stop Leslie before she could destroy the last piece of evidence, everything shattered in a way that no one could come back from unchanged. Leslie did not go down quietly. Her bottled-up fury turned her into a raw mass of hatred, and even as she was restrained, her eyes still burned with the defiance of someone who believed the world had betrayed her first. Laura witnessed that moment with a feeling that was both liberating and deeply painful, because justice that comes too late never erases the years of loss that came before it. And Eva, standing in the wreckage of the truth, did not feel rescued. She only felt that every foundation in her life had collapsed at once. The most painful thing was not that Leslie was finally exposed, but that once the truth came out, it did not save anyone from suffering. It only tore open wounds that had long been festering beneath the surface. Laura may continue her path toward justice for the accident from years ago, but the price is that she must relive every memory she once tried to bury. Isaiah may complete his mission, but he will have to face the consequences of turning Eva's trust into part of his plan. And Eva, trapped at the center of it all, will have to learn how to survive after realizing that the woman who brought her into this world had treated her as a sacrifice, while the man who made her feel something real had entered her life carrying a secret. After that explosion, no one remained whole. And that is the cruelest aftershock of this story. Sometimes the truth does not end a tragedy. It only opens the door to a more painful chapter, where each person must decide whether to collapse under the weight of it all or become colder in order to survive.